Hey guys, what's going on? This video is going to be on doing a cylinder compression test. I've got a 1997 Honda Accord here, 4-cylinder obviously. I'm going to show you the steps that you need to go through in order to deactivate the fuel, deactivate spark, and then go ahead and test each cylinder. To deactivate the fuel, what I've done is down by the footwell, kind of by where your left foot goes, there is a fuel pump fuse right there, which is a 15 amp fuse. So I've gone ahead and pulled out the fuel pump fuse, so now the engine will not receive fuel. I'm also going to disable spark by unplugging the ignition coil like that. For different cars, you're going to have to look up the different ways to do that. So spark is disabled, fuel is disabled. Now, next thing we're going to do is we need to pull out all the spark plugs, not just one of them. We've got to take all 4 of them out so that there's no resistance as the pistons go up and down. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and unplug your boot. Set that off to the side. Does not matter where you set it because spark has been disabled. Going to take your spark plug socket, which has the rubber piece on the inside to hold on to the spark plug, and ratchet. And then go ahead and take out your spark plug. Now to speed things up, I've gone ahead and taken out the remainder of these. And if your wires are not clipped in place nice and neatly like these are, you do want to make sure you don't mess the order up. If you get them mixed up, the engine's not going to start, or it will run really poorly when you put this back together. Alright, next thing is we are going to go ahead and screw in our cylinder compression gauge. Which is right here. Now this does have 2 different sizes, large spark plug size and the small spark plug size. And I've gone ahead and kind of wire tied up the gauge so that hopefully you guys can see that as I go ahead and crank over the engine. Now I'm going to go around, I'm going to put the key in, I'm going to crank it, and I'm going to give it about 3-4 revolutions of the engine basically until the needle kind of pegs out, and then we'll go ahead and write down what that reading is. So here we go. And the part I forgot to add is that you do want to hold the gas pedal all the way open so that there's no resistance at the throttle plate. So it would look something like that. So I'm going to step on the gas pedal and then go ahead and crank it. Alright, and that is cylinder number 4 according to my diagram. And on cylinder number 4 I got about 180, call it 185 PSI. Oops. You do want to dump the pressure when you let that go. This is going to be cylinder number 3. And for cylinder number 3, I also got 180 psi. And I'm going to release the pressure. Unscrew it. And then do this again. Remember, you got to step on the gas pedal and crank the key. Do it about 4 or 5 revolutions of the engine. So cylinder number 2 also has approximately 180 psi. Going to release the pressure. And for this last one, it doesn't quite reach, so I'm going to go ahead and just lay it down there. You can probably still see where the needle ends up pegging out at. Remember, step on the gas pedal, crank the engine. Alright, I think I went one revolution further than the other, so I'm pegging out just a little bit over 180 again. About 185 right there. And I'm going to release the pressure. Unscrew the gauge. Now, probably the most important part here is comparing your numbers and actually understanding what they mean. According to all data, the nominal compression is 178 psi per cylinder. The minimum pressure should be 135 psi per cylinder. Most importantly, maximum variation should only be 28 psi between the highest and lowest cylinder. If I take my highest reading of 185 minus my lowest reading of 180, gives me a difference of 5 psi, which is well within what they consider acceptable. So I'm not surprised this car does run very well, so it's nice to see that the compression readings are where they're supposed to be. Couple other things to consider. When you're doing a cylinder compression test, you want to make sure the battery's fully charged. I've had it sitting on a charger for several hours beforehand to make sure the battery's fully charged. If your battery's getting low, you may have to put the charger back on it, or keep the charger on. If you have a larger engine, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, you may have to put a battery maintainer or a battery charger on there to make sure you're keeping max voltage. It can trick you up if you start testing one and by the end the engine battery's getting run down. So just keep an eye on your battery voltages if you're doing a larger engine. Alright, last part's going to be putting our spark plugs back in and then torquing them down. I'm going to save that part for another video, but I'm going to make this happen real quick. If you want to see exactly how to do all these steps, I'll put a link to my other video where I go through how to actually install a spark plug and then properly torque it. But you're going to place your spark plug in your spark plug socket, that way it doesn't fall out. You always, always, always thread them in by hand so you don't strip out or cross thread your cylinder head. And gently set it in. According to all data, the torque spec for the spark plugs is 13 foot-pounds. Dial that down a little bit. 13 foot-pounds it is. And that spark plug is now properly installed, properly torqued, and we can go ahead and snap on the ignition coil. Snap on the spark plug wire. You're going to go ahead and do that for the remainder of the cylinders. Install the plug, install the wires, making sure you get all the orders in the right locations. And you see there I almost switched them up. Alright, so now all the wires are where they're supposed to be. We're going to go ahead and plug in our ignition. And then we would go underneath the dash where my fuel pump fuse goes in, plug that in, and at that point you're good to go ahead and start the car. It may take a minute or two of cranking before the car starts because you might be a little low on fuel pressure at this point. It might take a second for the spark to kick in, but the car should start up with no issues. So there you have it. That is checking cylinder compression and all the steps involved. Thanks for watching.